Time has gone by, and God knows I've tried. Still I'm here trying to work out the best way to survive. I held on to hope, I put on a show.
Welcome back to Getting on My Nerves. Today I have my beautiful co-host Sophie Ward.
Hi, everyone.
And I'm Angie Sudeth Walsh. Today our special guest is Jennifer Grooms. She has a nonprofit foundation called Time for Changes, and she has an amazing Instagram account. She has chronic illnesses. We're going to talk about that today. She has 2 books that she has written, one for young children and one for teenagers, and we're going to talk about those. And she's also a caregiver for her mom. So we're going to talk about that as well. Welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody.
So why don't we start first with, because Sophie and I, we found you when we were doing our Instagram stuff for Nerve of Mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was like, she's a really nice person. Let's interact with her and follow. So we really liked your account though, and like all of the posts that you do, like is for anxiety and mental health, and that's what your foundation is based on, is mental health for mostly children, but for a lot of people, right?
Right. We also are working on a free resource so that people can come to the website and they can get information on, whatever it is whether it's, social anxiety, whether it's pretty much anything.
Right.
Yeah.
For children's mental health, there's stuff for veterans, there's stuff for it's not just children. It's pretty much everything. There's also a therapy tab on there that would link you to online therapists that,
Which is
um,
a great help.
Yes.
A
yeah,
massive help.
because a lot of people just don't know where to turn.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you guys, do
mental
you
health.
find that with mental health, like, I mean, we all know we're supposed to take care of our mental health and, but do you ever feel like mental health has like a stigma attached to it and people are ashamed? And, even like with chronic illness, like with Lyme and stuff, for years I was told it was all in my head and I was just depressed. But it seems when people go in for true mental health issues, they're poo-pooed off too.
They
Yeah.
are. I believe that. Yeah, I
People
definitely.
can't see like physical scars, can they? So when someone goes in and they're saying like, I feel depressed, I'm like anxious, I'm getting social anxiety, people just like look at them like, well, you look fine. You look like you're doing well.
Right.
So what's the problem? And it's so
Yeah.
frustrating.
And doctors seem to want to always press medicine on you
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like I don't care about the backstory, what's actually going on with you. Here's some pills, take them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do need medication,
Right.
but
Because there's a difference between situationally depressed and actual clinical depression. And I think that that
exactly.
needs to be discussed, because when you're depressed, because like for Sophie and I, you can't find a diagnosis. Like you don't, and you're
Yeah.
kind of going through this too right now, Jennifer.
I'm going through, yes.
So you're situationally depressed. You're not clinically depressed. Now there are like chemical imbalances in the brain. There's different things. There's hereditary factors that can play into actually having clinical depression. But like you said, it's important for the doctor to ask, well, what triggered this? What brought all this out? And
Mhm.
most of them, you got 10 minutes with them. So how are you going to be able to
Yeah.
explain
Yeah,
that?
they're in and out of the doctor's room in, 5-10 minutes.
All of the posts that you do on Instagram, you do a range of different topics, which is great as well. Like you're not like so niche that it's just everyone comes for like anxiety, for instance. Like you do cover a lot of topics, which is so great, and it just kind of spices it up for your followers, because they every day they're learning something new from you and getting some advice and walking away just feeling uplifted by what they've read on your post and feeling less alone in whatever they're going through as well, which is great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You do
Well,
like,
we love to follow you, so
yes. Well, and I mean, a
I
lot of
like following you guys too.
Thank you.
there's a lot of posts that you will do, and like maybe like I'm having a bad day or something and it lifts me up and I'm like, wow, that was a really great post or a great reminder. You post a lot of great reminders, where maybe you forget because it's very
Ah,
overwhelming having a chronic
yeah.
illness. Chronic means every day, 24/7, no vacations, no
Mhm.
breaks. So it's like when you're trying to keep track of all that, and like for you, why don't you tell us your backstory? Like what
Yes.
what inspired you to do mental health for children, or anyone? What's inspired you to start the foundation? Do you have like underlying health conditions or illnesses or
Eh,
someone in your family? What's your story,
When
Jen?
I was a teenager, um, I was going through a lot, and I developed, I believe, depression. And I would tell my mother about it. She would try to take me to the doctors and try to get me, help. And, they just wanted to give me a medication. And they
Yeah.
didn't seem to care. Um, and as time went on, uh, I had to, tell her, look, I know that I have depression and anxiety and I need help. So she finally was able to get me in to see a therapist. And so it's really important for me to be able to uh, reach out to people and let them know that is help out there and you are not alone. Having depression and anxiety led me into some very uh, bad situations as far as romantic partners.
Yeah.
Um, I got involved with someone who was a narcissistic personality, and that lasted for 8 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
there was lots of abuse, and I turned to alcohol to cope as a coping mechanism. I There were times when I would actually take I'd have my anxiety medicines and all of that stuff, and I would take a shot just straight up and wash them down because I was so depressed and so just like feeling like
Alone.
alone. Exactly. I was just alone. And I don't want anybody to ever feel like they're alone. And the
Yeah.
reason I wanted to get involved and focus on children is because I do believe that, a youngster or a young person can be benefited by early intervention, by learning how to cope
Yeah.
with your feelings early on. Uh, Learning, 'cause they don't really teach in school, oh, these are your feelings. This is, if you have such and such situation, then, you know, it's okay to feel this.
Yeah.
Um,
I think when my kids were younger, because my son, he had a lot of health issues, and I remember them having in the hospital this chart with all these different faces on it.
Faces,
And
yes.
and he was to point to the face of how he felt, and how
Yeah.
his hurting, his pain made him feel. My stomach, like it just dropped because he put all the way over to like the 10th face. And I was just like, and we were trying so hard to find out. But see, this is like those type of things with mental health for children or just in general, because people don't think about when kids are sick, like if they are physically sick with something, it affects their emotional and mental health just like it would an adult.
Yeah. And also being bullied in school.
I was going to
Um,
say the pressures of
the
school, like,
pressures and kids today are under so much peer pressure.
so bad.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of it's because of social media because, you know, I remember when I was in school, we didn't even have the internet. Um, so you didn't have to worry about, people going online and saying mean things about you, you know.
Yeah.
They just said them to
And
your face.
nowadays,
Well,
yeah, they just said it. Yep,
said
straight
it.
up.
And then it was like,
Yeah.
meet me in the schoolyard at 3. And it was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, you're right. There's with electronics devices and stuff because and here's, I'm showing my age here, but here's like with Instagram. When Instagram first came out, it was for kids. And like I remember my kids getting on there, but everybody was bullying everyone on there. They were being horrific. And
Goals.
I said, look, you guys, and that's the sole reason why I got an Instagram account is so I could monitor my kids. Because it's like,
I didn't know that.
oh yeah. This was like,
Yeah, I didn't.
because actually,
Minefield.
here's a story. My son, he was in middle school and middle school. And some kid from another school said he was going to come to the school and shoot my son. He was
Oh my
bullying.
gosh.
So like the police came, like I found out about this, not from the school, from some police officer friends I had, because they were like, did you hear what happened today? I'm like, no, I did not. Like, but it was nice to have them because they were on top of things. But that kid got expelled and
I should think so.
right. But he wasn't even going to my son's school. He was at another school. This is how like the internet, like it's just it's crazy. It's just crazy because you have enough to worry about when you have children when they're just going to school or they're with their friends and they have the peer pressure and you've got to talk to them about, saying no to drugs and bad touch, good touch, like all these different things. And then you throw the internet in too. It's just like a big storm. It's almost like they just put a net out for the children,
Exactly. Yes.
pull them in. So what are some tips that you can give, Jennifer, for parents that they they're concerned with the internet and their children and different things, what for their mental health? What would you tips you give to parents?
The first thing is make sure you're on there. You're a follower of their account so that you can see everything, comments and everything that's going on. That's the biggest thing. Um, I know my sister, when she was younger, I got on there just to monitor what, she was doing,
Yeah,
what was being said and everything. That's probably the biggest tip I could give.
it's a good tip.
You're
And
okay.
Yeah.
also, I think for children, I think it's important that their account's actually private and not public
Yes, private. Yes.
Yes.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if your kid blocks you out where you can't follow their account, there's a big problem there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's when I would take it away from them.
Right.
And
yeah,
yeah, I would definitely take it away. If they blocked me or something, I'm gonna say, well, you can't have this anymore.
Right. I was
Yeah.
telling because it was so funny because my son, I was telling him I went on Twitter for something and I was like, I saw he popped up somehow and I was blocked on Twitter. Yeah, my kids have been through a lot. So like there's been times where they've, been angry or whatever. And I'm like, I said, was this during one of your angry phases? And he was laughing and he seemed like he was a little, embarrassed about it.
ashamed.
And I said,
Mhm.
let me tell you something. If the internet had been around when I was a teenager, my parents, oh my gosh, I would have been like all over the place. But like it's just you think back when you were a teenager and how, your hormones and like all the different things, all the
Oh,
pressures, all the
yes.
stuff going on. And we didn't have the internet back then. So we just had to vent to our friends or whatever. These kids have the internet where they can put all kinds of stuff about their parents online or block them or, whatever.
And then, I mean, a lot of them don't have private accounts, and a lot of other people start commenting that have actually no business to even be commenting.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what was your like your passion behind Time for Changes Foundation? Was that for because
It
of what you
was
went
it
through?
was based on my childhood, what I went through, knowing that there needed to be some kind of um,
Support.
support, exactly, some kind of support out there that children could look to. We give out what we call mindfulness toolkits to elementary schools, and
True.
they have breathing cards with them, and they have a little timer. And if I had thought about it, I would have had it with me. Uh, But it's a little tote bag and it has a timer in it, little hourglass timer, some breathing cards, and two little stuffed animals. We call them breathing buddies that they can
Oh,
hold
that's cute.
That's
while
really
they,
cool.
practice, square breathing or heart breathing, or, there's one pie breathing, where you're
Yeah.
smelling in the pie. Yeah.
Which
We
is
pass
really,
them.
really important because it's like help, it's sort of getting them used to doing healthy coping mechanisms rather than
Mhm,
turning to like substance abuse or,
mhm.
self-punishment in form of maybe food or the gym and like pushing their bodies too much. If they know what can help them, and soothe their anxiety, like boost their mood in a healthy manner, then that's what we need to give them the tools to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yes.
And if we teach our children as they're young and they're growing up how to handle stress, how to handle anxiety, how to handle depression, whether it's situational or clinical, then they have those tools that they'll carry with them throughout their life, as opposed to
Right.
like being a child who has no instruction, no guidance, no nothing, and they're thrown into adulthood and then all these other things.
Right. It's kind of like having a handbook when
Yeah.
you're young. I mean,
Yeah.
and then as you get older, you remember that stuff. I mean, I can remember countless things when I was a little kid, and I wish I had something like this to, carry through. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten involved with um, romantic partners that were not good for me. Um,
Yeah.
maybe I would have handled some situations differently, you know.
I think what you're doing is so important, and like the breathing and stuff, like if we can get children to understand that they have a right to say no, they can set boundaries, like and teaching them how to set boundaries, teaching them their worth. And because a lot of children in their homes, they have abuse and things that are going on where their vibration gets pulled down and it stays there.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
they say your vibe attracts your tribe. Well, your vibration, wherever you're vibrating, that's the kind of people and situations you're going to attract to you. So if we can teach them to rise above and like, be proud and confident,
Hmm.
it just seems like there's still like there's like a hole, where it's like there's children go here and then they fall into the hole and then they have to climb out as an adult.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So why don't you tell us about the books that you've written?
Oh, yes. One is for primarily kindergarten, first grade, second grade. Um, maybe some preschoolers. But it's just a book about your different feelings. Um, it goes over you're happy, you're sad, you're angry, you're frustrated. Um, it just goes over different feelings and how to cope with them. And, you know, then it talks about breathing. And as far as the teenage one, that's your life skills, all the things they don't
Yeah.
teach you in school, how to, I mean, you get a little bit of finance in school and stuff, but then they don't teach you how to repair a car, how to change a tire, unless you go through, mechanic class or whatever. They don't teach you how to balance a checkbook. Of course, checkbooks aren't really used as much, but when I was
Yeah.
growing up, they were.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, it just goes over all the life skills, how to go about fixing a basic meal. A lot of them, they just grow up and, oh, I'll have a TV dinner. They don't know about the
I know.
nutritional aspects and how to actually cook and how to take care of your well-being.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
And that cooking can actually be fun and you can, try
it
loads of
can be
different
fun.
recipes because I see people, even at my age, like 30 here, and they'll eat the same thing and it'll be like steak and chips or like a burger and chips. Like they don't think, oh, I'm gonna make a pasta dish and put like loads of veg in it and like put some tomato sauce and stuff and herbs in it. They don't think to do that. It's just convenient. And obviously our lives are so, so busy, but also like schools, like you guys are probably the same. I feel like I've learned more like living life, and rather than being in school and like leaving school, I've just felt like I've learned so much.
Oh yeah, I think you start learning about life as soon as you leave school, more so than when you were in school.
Yeah. And it's just like the little thing, like you said, taking care of yourself, moving your body, making sure you eat well and keep
Right.
fit and keep hydrated and have a water bottle with you at all times. It's just,
Hmm.
to us, it's like common sense because we've got our own health problems. So for us, it's like a priority. But for other
Right.
people, they're just like, oh, well, I've got kids to look after, I've got my career. I'm just going to literally put something in the oven and leave it to cook. And they
And if you
haven't
don't
thought,
take care of yourself,
yeah,
then, you're not going to be able to take care of them.
exactly.
Yeah.
And also like it's just not sort of leading it for your kids growing up, seeing that you just put a meal in the oven. It's going to pass down to them that they don't
It
need to
is.
learn to cook either. So they can just put something in the oven.
It is.
And you've got to realize as an adult, you are setting the example and you've, got to set a good example at that.
Right. When I have gone to schools and actually done some of the breathing exercises with the kids, and then we start talking about, exercise and nutrition, and I'll teach them some yoga poses and stuff like that, which they just totally have fun with that. Um, but they they are they're little sponges. I mean, they just soak up
Yeah,
everything you tell them, and that's why it's so important to get to them young while their brain is
yeah,
developing.
yeah. And it's habits that you need to sort of like get them sort of formed at that age as well, that it becomes second nature by the time they
Right,
hit like teenagers and then into
right,
adulthood.
right. And like exercise doesn't have to be, oh, I'm gonna go run 5 miles.
No,
It's just it can be in throughout the day. Um, Getting your heart rate up just a little, Some people can't because of illnesses, and this goes for children too, that sometimes they can't, do a whole workout or whatever.
yeah,
And they have to take it in small steps.
So Jennifer, that kit you were talking about that you give out to kids at school, what if someone's
Mhm.
watching this and they wanted to get a kit like that for their kids?
They would reach out to us through our website and through our email on there and just say, they would like one. They If they tell us the school, we will try our very hardest to you know, get them to that school. Um
that's amazing.
Now, is there
yeah.
an age limit on the kits? Are they for like,
It's usually for first, second, third grade. Um I've had some fourth and fifth graders use them, but it's primarily probably because their little sister, or little brother's been using it and they want to do it too.
right?
But it's mostly for, young kindergarten, first, second grade. Yes.
Wow.
Now, have you thought
So
about doing something
we
for
are
older?
trying. I have, and I've got a ton of ideas. I am working on several journals also. Um,
Wow.
for older kids. And the the teen book is, primarily for the older kids, who are going to be getting out into the real world soon. And that's when it can really become stressful. I remember,
Yeah.
right before college, it's like, oh gosh, I gotta be a grown, you know. It's scary.
Yeah.
But as far as like fifth, sixth, seventh grade, I'm working on some stuff as well.
Perfect.
Awesome. So why don't we talk a little bit more about like what you've been through yourself personally? Like, how did you recognize you were in a toxic relationship? How did you get out of that? How did you help yourself when you were drinking and using pills? Like, it's like how if someone was watching that and they're like, okay, she's doing great now, you appear to be doing great, you know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's get into that.
I actually, for many, many years, I put on a mask. You know,
Yeah.
everybody thought I was doing wonderful, but what they didn't know was behind closed doors, it was, you know, the verbal abuse, I had my partner at the time tell me, "Oh, well, I'm glad you're fat because it means nobody else is gonna want you." Um, I mean, it's just verbal abuse.
Mhm.
Um, and it just brought me down so low that I just felt
It's not-
like there were times when I became, had suicidal ideations. Um, I can remember one time in particular, and this just putting it all out there, that um, I had a loaded gun and I sat there with it and I was just done with life. I mean, just completely done. I was tired. I felt like I couldn't get out of the situation. And I just kept remembering that I've got a family that this will hurt.
Yeah.
If I take my life, what is this going to mean for them? And in particular, my sister is the one that I thought of the most, thinking, okay, this is going to devastate her. She's already autistic. And, this is just it's going to tear her apart and it could, bring her to take her own life,
Yeah.
and I think that's what got me out of that situation is realizing that my family was going to be hurt. Um,
Yeah.
and then as far as after that, it kind of shook me. And I decided, hey, I'm going to go take therapy myself.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and the therapist, he built my confidence up. And we were working on a bunch of different things. And I decided, I've had enough. This is my house. He was
Yeah.
living in my house. And
Right.
I have the right to say, get out.
Yeah.
And so
Get lost.
that's what I did. I said, get out. I actually packed a suitcase up and threw it out the
Go
door.
girl.
Good
Go
for
girl.
you.
Yeah. Yes. Most people would say, wow, you did that. Yeah, I did that. I mean, it was an
At least it was
empowering,
your
it
house
was,
though as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you
it was
still
my
kind of
house. And so many people in those situations, it's not their house.
yeah,
And
exactly.
the abuser is there to financially take advantage of them, which I was financially taken advantage of too. But
Yeah.
a lot of times they don't have anything. And so they need to know, just reach out to, if you have a friend that you can just talk to, reach out to them. And then maybe they can go and seek help so that it's not,
Yeah.
you're not getting noticed by your abuser,
Yeah.
you're getting help. Um, there's tons of help out there if you just reach out. Nobody is alone. Um,
Yeah.
Where are some places, like, if someone's in the situation like you were in, where are some places that helped you or that maybe you learned later that could have helped you? What are some places?
right. Well, I mean, even just as much as social services, um, your local social services, they'll, provide you somebody to talk to. A lot of times they have classes and stuff. They can be very discreet. There's the battered women, um, or just different women shelters. They
Yeah.
they help, you know, they've been that's what they do and they've been through it, and that's where I would tell them to go. If you don't know where to go, that's where my first thing I would say is if you're in a situation where you can't you don't know what to do and it's not your house. I was fortunate that it was my house, but if it's not your house, I would reach out to social services. That's the first place I would reach out to.
Yeah.
What are some tips you can give for someone they're trying to find a therapist? Maybe they've been to several and they just don't click with them. A lot of people, that's why they quit going, is because they just don't click with the therapist. What are some tips that you can give about that?
Actually, I would say, before you actually get in there and, start having your sessions, it's questions, you know, uh, what are some things that how do you do therapy? Is it mostly talk therapy, or, you know, what kind of therapy do you do? I mean, people do CBT and, DBT and all of that. Um, so yeah, just ask questions, and when within like the first 5 minutes if you click with somebody,
Yeah.
just their vibe. I think, well, can I carry on just a general conversation with them? If I can't carry on a general conversation with them, mm, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Um, and just keep trying to find someone, you know. There's all kinds of online support too. I mean, there's tons of online support.
Do you think online, like doing a Zoom call like this, is just as good as going to someone's office?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do. I think talking to somebody, and actually it makes me more comfortable when I'm not in front of somebody.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm online. Um, just I definitely think that being online is a lot better. Some people might like, going in person and stuff, but it can be intimidating, you know.
And if you
And
have other things going on, like physical stuff, then it's hard for you to get out. So
exactly. Yes. Yeah, you can, if you have difficulty doing things, then yes, that's another good reason to do online. And it's wonderful. I've actually done online therapy even recently. So yeah.
your story is amazing, Jennifer. I mean, it really is
Oh,
like,
really?
I didn't know. Did you know any of that, Sophie?
No, it's really touched me actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too. I almost started crying because I was like, I couldn't
Yeah.
believe like the depths. But see, you don't know about that. You don't know like someone's true devastating despair, where they were at. And for you, it was your family that pulled you back from going through with it.
Hmm.
What would be your tips or suggestions for someone whose their family is the cause that has pushed them to be there? What would you suggest to them, or tips or something?
Again, I would just suggest, well, first they need to know they're not alone. There's help
Yeah.
out there. Um, if they can get online, start doing some research. Um, put in therapists, and you get a big zillion different options. Reach out to social
That
services, reach out
true.
to, different agencies and stuff. They're your community mental health center. Um, you
Okay.
know, they they can help you. They will help you. Um,
I'm trying to I'm trying to get you to say, like, because you've been in that moment, and I will say I have been in that moment too. I didn't have gun,
mhm.
but I had all my pills that I knew because it was in the throes of the Lyme, and I didn't know if I could do it anymore. And so like for me, what stopped me was my children. So, I couldn't do that to them because I had promised them I would fight. But when you're in that moment where you are in that place where you want it to end, so can you take yourself back to that?
I think, yeah, when I was right there wanting it to end, I I don't necessarily think that I wanted it to end. I didn't want to take my life. What I wanted was for the hurt and the pain to go away.
Oh,
There,
yeah.
there.
That's what I wanted. Was I didn't want to kill myself.
Right.
I don't think anybody really does. They are there because of pain and hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if someone doesn't have children, they don't have their family. Like, what if they have no one, you know, like no one that they could, what would be your suggestion to help pull them through?
I would just tell them, you're not alone. I mean, you can get through this. There's help out there. Um, Hopefully they have a friend that they can call and say, like, I'm in trouble. I need help, you know. Um, that's the first person I would say reach out to as a friend. If you
Yeah.
don't have any family, reach out to a friend. Reach out to someone, and even if you're not close friends, just tell them what you're going through. Most people
Yeah.
have that empathetic quality about themselves that they want to help you. They don't want you to be in pain. They
Right.
don't want
Yeah.
that. And they'll help you get help.
And also just hearing a friend, list what they love about you and how you bring,
Yes.
add to their life can really just bring you comfort that actually you are loved and you do matter and
Yeah.
that you are seen and heard by people as well.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's important we tell our friends, our loved ones that we love them because, and not just to say it as like an automatic thing, but like when you say love you or love and hugs to you or whatever, you're sending that person genuine love. And that's an energy that
Yeah.
can be felt. And I feel like if more people would send unconditional love, meaning there's no strings attached to your love, unconditional love, like I feel it can really heal not only like your friends and family, but the world. But it also helps that person realize to learn to love themselves. Because when you have love for yourself, then you respect yourself and you learn to have boundaries, you learn to say no. And when you love yourself, then you can give that love out as well. But you also don't take stuff from people anymore, you know?
Right. Right. Yeah, you've got to, like we always say, you got to fill your cup up first,
Yeah.
because if you don't, you can't care for anybody. You can't give out the love you know that they need. Look after yourself first. Self-love is probably the most important thing, and
Yeah.
then you can start helping others.
Yes. I know something I had to do, and I do have my clients do this when they're starting their soul healing stuff. And it feels really weird when you first start doing it. But when you're in the shower, like if you will, like when you're washing yourself, you tell yourself, I love you. And I'm telling you, it feels so weird. It feels so weird. But after you keep doing it, and like, I'd say about like once a week has passed, because like I can remember doing it and I was like, I love you. I'm like, this feels so strange. This just feels so strange. But after about a week, you don't start feeling strange anymore because see your body's
Mhm.
hearing those words, I love you. You're telling yourself you love
Exactly.
yourself. And it's not an ego thing. It's to get your healing going, getting your vibration raised. And I had to do it too. Like I learned like
Right.
many years ago to do it. And then when you start implementing these things, it can feel strange at first. And I think that's because you're not in touch with yourself, is why it
Right.
feels weird. So, but then doing just simple exercises like that can help you, you know,
Well,
on
I
your
I like that
journey.
every morning I say affirmations to myself in the mirror.
Okay.
Um, you know, I I am loved, I am enough.
Good way to start the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great way to start the day. I also like to get up and journal. Um, and just have a little bit of quiet time, journal to myself about my thoughts of, what my intentions are that day. And, you know, then at night I journal before I go to bed about, well, what are some good things that happened? What are some things that I wish had gone better? Or, stuff like that. I just love journaling.
Yes. I do too. I think it's great. And for people that they don't like to write, I mean, you can do voice recordings. You can just sit there and just
Exactly.
talk out loud. I mean, it's just expressing your thoughts and putting them down. I like how you said, like, instead of saying things that went bad today, I like how you said things that could have went better. I wish they would have went better. I
Right.
really like that. That's a good way to say that.
Yeah. Oh, I never try to put a negative on it, because things, yeah, we all make mistakes during the day. It's
Yeah.
not something, where that we've done wrong, but maybe they could have gone better, you
Yeah.
know.
I think that's something with people too, is like we have a fear. I think when you haven't healed, like you're not further along on your healing journey, because we're always healing, we're always learning, it never stops. But like you have a fear of like what others are going to think of you because you've done something, you've made mistakes. Everybody's made mistakes. And like my mom said yesterday, everybody has skeletons in their closet.
Everybody does.
So true
Everybody.
though.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people,
Yeah.
the door is like can't hardly close. And then other people, it's like a surprise when it falls out, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, you never know what's behind that, someone's skeletons and stuff. Yeah.
So one thing that we haven't spoken about yet, and I saved it for last because I think it's just as important as everything else, but you're a caregiver for your mom. And
I
there's a
am.
lot of people out there that are battling their own illnesses, chronic illnesses, other things, and they're being a caregiver for their parent or maybe their child or their spouse. Why don't you tell us about that?
Um, my mother, she had two strokes, one in 2020 and one almost a year to the day in 2021. Um, the second one caused her to become um, numb on the left side. She suffered some paralysis. Um, and I found myself, the first stroke didn't, really affect her that much. But, her balance and stuff was off. But on the second stroke, she, went downhill. And I tried to take care of her here at my home. And that is really hard to do,
Yeah.
especially when, you know, it's hard. Like I have back issues. So it was hard to lift her. I, you know, I have fibromyalgia also. Um, there are days when it's hard for me to get out of bed, and just being in that situation, you know, it's it's so difficult. And that I turned to online therapy at the time because I couldn't leave her alone long enough to go out. I
Yeah.
had to have groceries delivered here to the house, because I could not leave her alone because I would be afraid she would fall. I mean, she would even fall out of bed. Um, I constantly had an ear open. I couldn't, um,
Relax.
yeah, I couldn't relax. There was never a moment to myself to relax. I
Yeah.
was constantly, all the time, taking care, listening, doing stuff. Well, yeah.
And
And
it
then
probably didn't help
it,
your activity either at that point.
Yeah.
right,
You're too busy, like, oh my gosh. And you in your mind, you're A, worrying about what could have happened, and then B,
right,
like thinking, oh my gosh, like it's becoming out of control and you're panicking yourself.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't wish it on anybody actually, but I mean there are tons of people out there that are going through it, and you don't know it because they put on this facade that
Yeah.
everything is okay, you know. But, you know, I reached out to some home care. I tried to, get that, but even then, as her stroke symptoms kind of got worse and worse and worse, I had to make the hard decision to put her into a nursing home. And that broke my heart. And to this day, it breaks my heart. Um, Having to see, because nursing homes, it's a shame, but we don't care for our elderly. We just don't. Um, they you do so much through your life and stuff, and then when end up in a nursing home and they don't care. They just don't care. It's sad, and that people's lives end
Yeah.
up that way.
And it's
And
sad to hear that actually, because I was going to say to you, does she feel more sort of the community vibe, with being around people like all day long? Is that helping her in her illness? Because we've
she
just had,
she does, yes. She has
yeah,
gained a lot of friends. Um,
that's
that is what gets her through
okay.
at the nursing home is her friends. Um, she's an avid bingo player.
That's what we
Um,
like.
Love bingo.
yeah, yeah, avid bingo player. She likes, and she does a lot of coloring now, which is something
Good.
she didn't do before. And
Yeah.
so, um, but yeah, she has a lot of close friends there. We have tried to get her into other nursing homes, and there's just so much of a wait that,
Yeah.
there's better nursing homes out there that I have learned of, and trying to get them in there is very, very difficult.
So why I am interested in this because I know a lot of my friends, they're having um this pop up into their life where like they've been caring for their parent at home and it's coming to a point where they're just not able to do it. What did you look for when trying to find a place for your mom?
Well, when I came down to the point where I couldn't do it myself anymore, and I had to go and uh, look at. I went at well, it was actually during COVID, so I was not able to go in and actually look at the facility. If I had,
Right.
I would have, probably not put her in this facility. But I was going off of, some things that I'd heard that, that it's a pretty good nursing home. It was something close by, which is what I wanted, somewhere that, I could be there in 30 minutes. Um, I live in a small town. Uh, there's not a lot of options here. We have like, I think, 4 options. And I mean, there's some assisted, that's the skill level that she needs would not qualify for that. Um, but yeah, just reach out to, do your homework now that it's not COVID and we're not in a pandemic. Go and look at the facility. Talk to the patients that are there. A lot of times they'll open up if there's something they don't like about the place. They're not timid in telling you.
True.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I have recently, that's why I've wanted to change, nursing homes for her, is because I've heard things from other patients and they're not good things.
Yeah.
Um, but definitely go and check them out yourself. Don't just rely on word of mouth or anything. Go check them out, see what, their activities are, see uh what kind of therapy they have. A lot of times, you know, like my mother right now, she's needing physical therapy. Um, check out their therapy department. Make sure that, they can get it when they need it. Um, those are some big things. Yeah.
Did you experience any guilt with having to put her in a home?
Yes. Yes.
How did you
Very,
deal with that?
very therapy. um, I think the answer to most things is therapy.
Yeah.
Um, talking to somebody. My sister was a huge help. Um, being able to express what I was feeling, because she was feeling some of the same things that, oh my gosh, you know, our mother is in a nursing home and she's not happy. We're feeling guilty, and what do you do? Oh, I mean, to me, I reached out for therapy, and just I did talk therapy is the biggest thing. Um, talked about all the bad things that I didn't like about the place. It was a place where I could go that was safe, and I could, vent. Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of people, whether it's your parent, your spouse, like even people that have to find a facility for their children sometimes. But I think people just have like a tremendous amount of guilt because they feel like they should be able to do more. They should be able to do better. And like, you know, when you hit that point,
I've also reached out to several, small groups around here that are groups for individuals who are caretakers. Research that, and um, most even small towns like I live in, we have some therapy or some groups that you can just go to and talk about everything, and it's just nice knowing that the community, you're not alone. Your other people are going through the same thing you are, and just talk.
Did you have you learned anything from this experience with your mom that you're gonna like put in place for yourself?
Yeah, I am a diabetic. I'm a type 2 diabetic. She is a diabetic. She also has stage 3 kidney disease, which is one stage away from preparing for dialysis.
Right.
I take better care of myself. I am not going to go into a nursing home later in life. I am going to take care of myself. I am going to do what it takes. Going out on days for a walk when I don't feel like it, making sure I'm eating healthy, make sure to take my medicine, go to the doctor's appointments. Yeah, it might be inconvenient, but just, go and look after yourself, prioritize yourself, because right now, the person you are right now is going to help the future person that you
Right.
become.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, this has been a very inspiring and eye-opening interview.
Well, thank you.
We've really
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you've enjoyed it, and we've loved having you on because we're desperate to get you on. Get you on.
We've had to delay several times, but yeah, I'm so glad we finally got to talk.
We finally did it.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for Jennifer, she's on Instagram on Time for Changes, and it's the number 4, Time for Changes. And that's on Instagram. Her website is timeforchanges.org. It's Time for Changes Foundation. And the kit that she talked about in here, if you would like to get that for your school-aged children or for a classroom of children, you can contact Jennifer and she will set that up. So thank you once again, Jennifer.
Oh, you're so welcome. I enjoyed it.
Until next time, we'll see you.
Bye.
And hold on to the good memories. We climbed up the mountains and fell in the deep. We were holding on to something, then we lost belief. We're in the middle of a nightmare, hoping soon we'll wake up. And will you still be there when the morning comes? When the morning comes.